The movie opens inside a dark, secluded attic laboratory, where the scientist's assistant, named Crawford Tillinghast, is testing a machine called the resonator. As we get to know later, this massive machine emits a powerful electronic pitch designed to stimulate the brain's pineal gland, the third eye. Crawford powers up the machine, which activates the pineal gland, and suddenly the scientist sees strange, jellyfish-like creatures floating through the air. Later, it becomes apparent that these entities exist in a parallel dimension that coexists with our own, normally invisible to the human eye. Without warning, one of them attacks the man and bites his face. Crawford switches the resonator off and creatures disappear. The assistant rushes to Pretorius's room, pounds on the door, and screams that the resonator is working. Disbelieving the story, Pretorius opens the door and goes to check for himself. The scientist activates the machine, which starts whirring, and suddenly, the physical atmosphere of the room changes. The air grows thick and the computer glitches. Crawford asks Pretorius to shut the resonator off, but Pretorius is completely entranced. He refuses and says that something is coming. Immediately, all the windows and glass in the room shatter. Hearing the noise, the neighbor woman calls the police and goes to check Pretorius's house together with her dog. Crawford suddenly bursts from the room. Paying no mind to the woman, he ran past with wild eyes. The police arrive shortly after. They find Crawford at the gate and arrest him. Meanwhile, we see that the neighbor's dog is licking blood off the decapitated body of Pretorius. Dr. Catherine McMichaels, an ambitious and highly analytical young psychiatrist, visits the psychiatric hospital where Crawford was sent. She is interested in his case. Crawford tells her everything what happened to him and Pretorius. He tells about creatures and Pretorius's resonator, which stimulates the pineal gland. Intrigued by his case, she listens as Crawford explains everything that happened to him and Pretorius. He describes the strange creatures and Pretorius's resonator, a machine that stimulates the pineal gland, and people can't see the creatures and the creatures can't see people without the resonator unless they're under the influence of the vibrations. The doctors, of course, hesitate to believe what the man just told them. Afterward, both female doctors, together with a police officer, scan Crawford's brain, and Dr. Catherine sees that his pineal gland is oversized, and she supposes that the resonator really stimulates the gland. Catherine suggests recreating the experiment to understand what happened and how Dr. Pretorius died, and she needs Tillinghast for that. She convinced the police officer with great difficulty to give her a chance to do it. Crawford was released into Catherine's custody. However, despite his reluctance to recreate the experiment, the psychiatrist persuades him to cooperate. The two, along with Detective Bubba Brownlee, who investigates Pretorius's death, go to Pretorius's house. Crawford is terrified to go back there, but he also has no desire to return to the psychiatric hospital. The house appeared to be without power, so they rewired it. Then they find a Pretorius's BDSM video records. Afterward, they go upstairs and find the resonator. Crawford wants to destroy it, but Bubba stops him. Crawford also clarifies that he dislodged the forks in the exact same manner during the previous attempt. Then, they proceed with resonator activation. Pretorius's assistant warns them not to move when they are in the vibration field, because creatures may see them. He emphasizes that he will stay right by the switch to shut it down if it appears. Upon activation, the forks resonate and the wind whistles. Dr. Catherine experiences a powerful mix of uncontrollable physical pleasure and enhanced sensory perception. Then, the air fills with the translucent, swimming eel-like creatures. Detective Bubba breaks the warning of Crawford and walks to check them. Suddenly, one of the creatures attacks him. Crawford confirms it is exactly what he saw last time, adding that these creatures are around people all the time, but just invisible to each other. Crawford wants to switches the resonator off, but he hears somebody pronounces his name. Then, the deceased Dr. Pretorius appears absolutely naked. He starts to talk to Crawford, explaining that he didn't die, but just passed beyond. Crawford doubts it is the real Pretorius, so the scientist suggests that Crawford touch him personally. The assistant does it, but the skin and body of Pretorius appear to be like clay malleable. Pretorius laughs and says that the bodies change and the mind is most important thing. He starts to shapeshift into something terrible, but Crawford shuts the resonator down at the last second. Everything disappears and the atmosphere returns to normal. During lunch, Dr. Catherine concludes that the resonator stimulates sex drive as well. She also suspects a statistical correlation between schizophrenia and an enlarged pineal gland. However, the police officer says they have learned enough and got what they came for. Crawford did not kill Pretorius, and they must leave as soon as possible. Dr. Catherine suggests trying the experiment again, but Crawford and Bubba completely disagree. Bubba decides to take a rest and then leave the house. Later, the psychiatrist wakes up. She feels an overwhelming sexual arousal caused by the machine's effects on her brain. Catherine goes upstairs and turns on the resonator while Bubba and Crawford are sleeping. Crawford wakes up and tries to shut the machine down. Catherine tries to stop him via kissing. As expected, the monster appears and grabs the psychiatrist. He threatens Crawford, promising to kill the woman if he tries to shut the resonator down. Tillinghast runs downstairs, intending to shut off the main circuit breaker. Meanwhile, the monster, which absorbed Pretorius and controls his mind, begins attempting to decapitate Catherine as well. When the men reach the basement, they see a giant, slimy, worm-like creature. The resonator's powerful vibrations have traveled through the entire structure of the house, pulling this slug-like monster into existence downstairs. A giant slug viciously attacks Crawford, chewing on his head. While Crawford is being eaten alive, Bubba managing to locate the main power lever and pulls it down just in time. As soon as the power cuts out, the vibrations stop, and the both monsters are pulled back into their dimension. The ordeal leaves behind a traumatized, hairless Crawford and a deeply ashamed Catherine, who unplugs all the cables from the resonator. After this, the ex-assistant is confined to bed. Catherine admits she was wrong to turn the resonator on. While Bubba packs their bags and prepares the vehicle to leave, Catherine's sex drive is stimulated again. Spotting Pretorius's sexual toys, she dresses in a BDSM outfit and tries to play with the sleeping Crawford. The police officer finds her dressed like this and shames her in front of the mirror. Suddenly, the circuit breaker in the basement flips back on, and the resonator's cables plug themselves back in. Crawford wakes up. He says it is the monster is trying to start the machine from beyond. 3 characters run upstairs, but the resonator doesn't allow them to touch him. Moreover, some insects come out of the another dimension and kill Bubba. It became more nasty and disgusting. It suggests them to join him. It wants to eat their minds and become a one whole entity thing. The monster's pineal gland pops out. It stimulates the Crawford's pineal gland to mutate and pops out as well. Once his pineal gland is exposed outside his skull, Crawford completely loses his humanity. It gives him a specialized predatory third eye vision that allows him to physically see the brains inside other people's heads. At this moment, Pretorius catches Catherine, but she grabs a fire extinguisher and repeatedly sprays it directly into the resonator's exposed electrical wiring. The parallel dimension disappears. Then we are moved to the psychiatric hospital. Because Catherine recounts the exact same crazy story about interdimensional monsters that Crawford originally told, her superior, Dr. Block, believes Catherine has completely lost her mind. The police can't understand as well what happened. They are mad due to death of Bubba. Dr. Block strips Catherine of her medical authority and orders her to be committed to the ward. Out of spite, Block schedules Catherine for immediate high-voltage electroshock therapy. Catherine tries to escape, but she was caught. While doctors and nurses restrain Catherine, the mutated Crawford wakes up and escapes his ward. He wanders into the hospital's pathology lab and begins eating preserved brain specimens. When Dr. Block catches him, Crawford uses his third eye vision to target her skull, attacks her, and devours Dr. Block's brain while she is still alive. As a sadistic hospital staff member straps Catherine down and prepares to activate the electroshock machine, the chaos from Crawford's rampage allows Catherine to break free from her restraints. Realizing the resonator must be completely obliterated, Catherine steals a vehicle and escapes from the hospital. Crawford sees her, kills some of the staff, steals an ambulance, and follows her. Upon arrival, the psychiatrist intends to finally destroy the resonator by securing a massive time bomb to it, but Crawford catches her, overpowers, and drags her down into Dr. Pretorius's secret bondage room. He uses Pretorius's leather straps, and then Tillinghast intends to kill her as he killed Dr. Block. But as Crawford leans in close to bite into her skull, Catherine manages to surge upward and bites off his external pineal gland with her teeth. That returns Tillinghast to normal condition. The resonator machine suddenly switches back on, and Dr. Pretorius's giant monster form returns, continuing to say them to join him and become a most powerful being in the universe. Crawford intentionally attacks Pretorius's massive ego and dark past. He mocks Pretorius's physical form and screams insults about his former life, calling him weak, a failure, and impotent. Pretorius, who views himself as a godlike entity of absolute pleasure and evolution, is completely enraged by Crawford's words. The monster's true form erupts from Pretorius and attacks Crawford, biting his head off to assimilate him into his gelatinous mass. Meanwhile, floating fish-like creatures appear in the room. Catherine begins waving her hand to attract the creatures, which react only to movement. It works. They bite through the leather straps and free her. She activates a bomb. There are only 30 seconds left until the explosion, but suddenly Pretorius appears nearby and starts it thinks it is over. But next moment, it feels bad itself because absorbed into the monster's flesh, Crawford's consciousness survives for a few moments. He uses his remaining strength to fight Pretorius from the inside, tearing at the monster's internal organs to hold him in place. With only seconds left on the timer, Catherine sprints across the room and violently leaps through the attic window, falling down toward the ground outside. The massive blast completely vaporizes the resonator machine, Dr. Pretorius, and Crawford, causing the entire house to collapse into burning rubble. Catherine is sitting on the ground as the neighbors surround her. The end!